With the recent injury updates, we have a new projection on what the opening day roster might look like on today's episode of Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X, at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. I want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and you can find us on YouTube. When you stop by there, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, interact with us, and hit that notification button so you know when the new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. It is the middle of March, and we are about 10 days away from opening day for the Cardinals, who begin their season with an afternoon tilt in Los Angeles against the Dodgers, of course. Have to face the Dodgers for their first game on American soil. And there have been quite a few things that have happened since the first time we kind of went through projections and tried to figure out who was going to make the roster, what the lineups were going to look like. Most notably, you've got these injuries that have popped up. It hasn't so much been performance problems that have altered things, but people are hurt. So let's start with the latest on the injury front before we start name dropping. And we are going to get to the Blake Snell signing, by the way. That happened tonight. The latest injury scare was with Brandon Crawford. Got hit by a pitch on his left wrist in the bottom of the second inning in Sunday's win over the Astros. Stayed in to run the bases, and then got replaced on defense by Jose Fermin before the top of the third. Good news. Crawford underwent x-rays after coming out of that game, and they came back clear. So I'm sure there was probably some swelling, some general soreness. That's what happens when you get hit by a baseball. So it was nice that the team had the day off on Monday, give them an extra day to rest because they're going to do a split squad on Tuesday. We have the unfortunate news about Keynan Middleton, which dropped over the weekend. Going to be shut down for 10 days after straining his right forearm. Middleton recently underwent an MRI that revealed that the strain in his right forearm, and he's going to be getting the season on the 15-day injured list, that according to manager Ali Marmol. Middleton last pitched on March 7th and has been dealing with lingering pain in his right arm for several days, which is, never a good sign. Like, that's not what you want to hear about a guy that you signed to be one of your key pieces to the bullpen. Was going to be one of those huge middle relievers after having a really good year last year with the White Sox and then with the Yankees. And they signed him later on, and it was like, all right, this actually is going to work out nicely. And now he's hurt. And another side about this that makes it even a worse downer about it was when he did pitch this spring, he looked good. 3 scoreless innings over 3 outings. Had allowed just 2 hits, struck out 2, walked none. That's what you were looking for from Keynan Middleton, and now he's gone, and we don't know when he's going to be back or if he is going to be back. But the Middleton injury does open up opportunities for some newcomers to make the roster. We'll get into that a little bit later on when we do the roster projection. Riley O'Brien, Ryan Fernandez, or Nick Robertson are some of the names that will be brought up. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Sonny Gray, some really good news. It continues to be good news about Sonny Gray and that right hamstring strain. Did that back on March the 4th, where it seems like it was 100 years ago, but it was about 2 weeks through a simulated inning plus Sunday morning in a controlled setting on a backfield of the Cardinals complex. According to Derek Gould at STLtoday.com, his breaking ball was crisp, and he showed no signs of fatigue. But unfortunately, the news is he will not be able to make the opening day start. Okay, in Los Angeles, won't be facing the Dodgers. Not really a surprise. No need to push it. Okay, they'd rather have him back sooner rather than later, but pushing it just so he can make that opening day start doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Instead, that duty will go to Miles Michaelis for the second year in a row. According to Gold, Sonny Gray said he felt good coming out of Sunday's simulated innings. After throwing between 22 and 24 pitches, he went through a full-speed fielding practice. The Cardinals were pleased with his lack of hesitancy and comfort during those react and run drills. If he recovers well, Gray will throw a more traditional live batting practice on Thursday. And it would be more like a game-like simulation is what they're saying, where batters will swing. Because he had, Lucan Baker and Lars Nootbaar stood in. They didn't swing the bats or anything, but they stood in there just to kind of give them the feel of a batter in the box. But this time around, could be guys swinging and fielders could be in play. So we'll find out. If that goes well, his next outing could be an exhibition game against the Cubs, which would be the following week in Arizona when the team travels out there before going to Los Angeles. As for Win Gray, if healthy, might get his first regular season start. Gould said that Marmol did not want to speculate whether Gray would be ready to start in San Diego or the home opener on April the 4th. So it's kind of a TBA situation at the moment, which is still better than what I feared was going to happen, where we weren't going to see him until the end of April. And as of right now, it looks like the Cardinals kind of dodged a bullet here, and they're going to get him back quicker than we thought. As far as the outfielders go, we knew that Tommy Edman was going to be on the shelf for a while. No changes there with the wrist. And that Lars Nootbaar, he continues to make progress from those fractured ribs, but there's no return date set for either of them. But like I mentioned, Nootbaar was one of those guys standing in against Sonny Gray. I don't know if he's swinging bat yet or anything like that, but from everything I've gathered, progressing normally, things are okay. So that's where we stand. So we're going to get into the latest roster projections for opening day. We'll do that next here on Locked On Cardinals. Say goodbye to busted brackets, because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tournament, whether you're betting on a big upset or one of the number one seeds. It's time to go dancing on America's number one sportsbook. I was looking at FanDuel. I got it up on my phone here right now. UConn got the best odds as far as winning the whole thing. And then it went Houston, Purdue, and Arizona. So you got your number one seeds. North Carolina, Tennessee, Iowa State, Auburn, Creighton, Marquette, Duke, Kentucky. I wouldn't bet on Kentucky, by the way. Alabama, Baylor, Illinois, Kansas down there a little bit. So the biggest odds here, Duquesne, Grambling, Long Beach State, Western Kentucky, St. Peter's, Akron, Howard. Like, you got all these guys in there. You throw a little bit on those and they end up winning something. Boy, oh boy, man, you're taking home quite the bundle. You're grabbing the bag, as they like to call it. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So that's $200, guys, to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all, like some of these long shots here. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Do it now. And again, $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. These are your bonus bets. They're for you if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. As you know, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today. Baseball fans, mark your calendars. March 20th. We're getting there. Only a couple of days away. 7 p.m. Eastern for the best MLB season preview, coming exclusively to Locked On Sports Today. March 20th, 7 p.m. Eastern. Be the first to get local insight from the MLB local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. You can find it again on March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel, available on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Again, thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Don't be shy. Leave your comments. Leave your suggestions on YouTube as well as on Twitter X anytime you want. Feedback, always welcome and encouraged. Here's how I think things stand with the roster at this point. I believe that the Cardinals are going to keep 13 position players and then 13 pitchers. Okay, so we're going to start with the position players. You got 2 catchers, all right? They're not going with a third. Remember how weird that got last year. But no need to do that. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's fine. Wilson Contreras will be your starter. Ivan Herrera is your backup. At first base, you've got Paul Goldschmidt, who is having an ugly spring. Let's not sugarcoat it. Paul does not look like the MVP from 2022. Not at all. He's hitting 161, one dinger, 4 ribbies, 13 strikeouts. Come on, Goldie. Come on, Goldie. Let's heat it up just a little bit. Over at second base, you got Brendan Donovan and Nolan Gorman. Donnie has looked healthy this spring so much that they have allowed him to start working in the outfield. So that's a great sign because with the way the outfield is right now, injury-wise, Donovan's probably going to see some time out there. And so far, so good. Nolan Gorman's back this spring. I figure he's probably going to DH more than be playing second, but we'll see how Ollie likes to deploy things. Gorman will also get some time at third base, I'm sure, at some point. It'll just happen. Over at shortstop, you got rookie Mason Wynn, the Cardinals' top prospect. Hasn't hit a dinger, hasn't driven in a run this spring. A lot of zeros right there. But this is his job. There was no competition here whatsoever. Brandon Crawford is your backup. That's why he's here. He's not here to take any starts away from Mason Wynn. He's here to be that backup guy and just kind of help him learn things at the major league level. Crawford also has been open to playing some third or second base if the Cardinals need him to do that. And the x-rays were negative on his hand after getting hit the other day. So that's good news. Over at third base, Nolan Arenado got off to a hot start in the spring. Cooled off a little bit. He's hitting 265. He still has not hit a home run this spring. The Cardinals' power outage at spring training, it's been a little bit frightening, okay? I know they play in a ballpark at Roger Dean where the wind is a little nutty. Not an easy place to hit home runs. I get that. But neither is Busch Stadium. Busch Stadium is not an easy place to hit home runs either. That's considered a pitcher's park. And I'm hoping that the power wakes up when this regular season starts because right now, kind of scary. They haven't hit a little bit more for power. Moving on to the outfield, we've got Lars Nootbaar and Tommy Edman. They're out. Don't have to worry about them for a little bit. So it'll likely be Alec Burleson in left field, Dylan Carlson in center, and then Jordan Walker in right. Alec Burleson has had a tremendous spring. He's been a lot of fun to watch. I've enjoyed it. I really have. I've given Burley a hard time last year, but he put in the effort this offseason. He's lost some weight. He's trimmed down. He looks more athletic, making a diving play in left field the other day. But he's batting .353. He's got a dinger, 6 driven in, has struck out just once. You love the fact that this guy just puts the ball in play. Are they going to have him lower in the lineup? Probably, but wouldn't he be a nice guy to have in that number 2 spot? You know, a guy that constantly puts it in play. But that'll likely go to Goldie. They've been hitting him in the number 2 spot a lot this spring. So, but we'll see what happens. But Burleson, been good. Dylan Carlson leads the club in home runs. Didn't know that, did you? You didn't know that, did you? He's got a whopping 2. So it's not saying much, but it's still a fact. Dylan Carlson leading the Cardinals in home runs this spring. Also got that average up to 243 after a slow start. So he's been picking things up. Been hitting from the right side a little bit. He's faced a few lefties recently, so that hasn't hurt. I still have no idea why he doesn't hit right-handed the whole time. I don't have an answer for you. Jordan Walker doing Jordan Walker things so far this spring. Hitting 250. He's got a home run, 8 RBIs, second on the team in that category. Couple of stolen bases, 8 runs scored, which is tied for tops on the team, and has had some interesting plays in right field that have made him look a little silly, but still a work in progress. The cannon arm still looking good out there in right field. So Jordan Walker primed to have a pretty good season this year. So mathematically, let me add this up real quick. You got 2 catchers and a first baseman, 2 second basemen, third baseman, 2 shortstops, 3 outfielders. That's 11, right? 11 players, which gives you 2 open bench spots, which we believe will go to Matt Carpenter and Michael Ciani. I know Victor Scott is very exciting, but you don't bring him up for him to sit on the bench more times than not. You don't bring him up just to be a pinch runner. You don't bring him up to just be a late inning defender. That's what Michael Ciani's there for. Let him be that guy. Let Victor go down to Memphis and get some AAA pitching. He's never been there yet. Pitching rotation, speaking of which, I'm going to assume that Sonny Gray won't start on the IL when we go through this. Things, like I said, are progressing nicely for him. We're getting a lot of good news each time he goes out there. So I'm going to keep him on the opening day roster. So your starting rotation consists of Sonny Gray, Miles Michaelis, who will get the starting nod on opening day against the Dodgers. Good luck with that, Michaelis. Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, and Steven Matz. Those are your top 5. Michaelis has looked good this spring, though. I mean, you can't deny it. 2.25 ERA. He has given up 18 hits in 16 innings, but I think it's time we all got over it. That is just who Miles Michaelis is at this point in his career. He's not going to strike out a whole lot of guys. That's not his game. Never has been his game. And he's going to give up hits. People are going to put the ball in play on him. Those balls are going to find holes at some point or another. It's his job to pitch out of issues. Just something we're going to have to get used to. There's no use in crying about it. That's who he is. But if he's able to keep the ball in the ballpark and not let these innings get out of hand, he's not walking people, which is, that's what Miles Michaelis does. He does not walk people, doesn't hurt himself in those situations, and he can get out of things when he's not putting guys on base and then giving up those hits. So he'll get the opening day start. Lance Lynn looked a lot better in his second outing than his first. Kyle Gibson has not done much to impress fans just yet. Opponents are hitting .348 against him, but he's a veteran. And here's the thing. The post-game interviews that they do with each of these pitchers after they make starts, when they talk to Kyle Gibson, he doesn't look like he's freaking out or worried about anything that's going on. Like, he looks like he kind of does that veteran thing where he's like, I was working on a couple of things here and there, and I'm not, giving my full arsenal right away, and a couple of pitches I missed here and there, but he seems pretty positive about the things and how he's feeling and how things are going at camp. So whatever he's trying to accomplish in his starts, he seems okay with it thus far. And I haven't heard any of the Cardinals coaching staff complain about him either. Steven Matz, opponents are hitting .346 against him. I know, not great, Bob. Not great. You don't want to see these batting averages tickling the .350 mark. Not so good. But there's moments it's like the normal Steven Matz stuff where he'll look good for a couple of hitters, and then it's like one guy gets a hold of one and it blows it all out of proportion. So hopefully we'll get more of the Steven Matz that we saw at the end of last year before he got hurt. Moving on, Zach Thompson, been outstanding this spring, right? We love Zach Thompson. Matthew Liberatore, been a little bit disappointing. He leads the club with 13 strikeouts, but he's also given up 11 runs as well. But he's another guy in these post-start interviews where he's pretty pleased with the way he's throwing the ball. So, again, these guys are giving up a lot of hits and a lot of runs, but they don't seem to be worried about it because it seems like it's kind of part of the plan where they're like, if it happens, so what? Don't beat up yourself about it. As long as you're working on the things you're supposed to be working on and you're accomplishing those goals, we're cool. So, but Matthew Liberatore, he'll be there. Both will be on the roster now, especially with Keynan Middleton out and Sonny Gray working his way back. So both of them will be there. So that gives us 7 pitchers. And then you got Ryan Helsley as your closer. So far this spring, 1 run, 3 hits, 6 innings, 7 punchies, 6 walks, which isn't good, but 3 of those just came in his last outing. So we'll chalk that up to just having 1 bad outing. It happens. We'll get over it. Jojo Romero from the left side. Bit of a rocky spring. That ERA at 7.71, but has looked a little bit better recently. Andrew Kittredge has been everything you could ask for thus far. 6 innings, no runs, 2 hits, 4 Ks, 1 walk. The only complaint I have about Andrew Kittredge thus far is I want to see his big bushy beard. Like, I like that one better than the trimmed up beard on him. I want to see it get hairy in there. Give me some of that Lance Lynn. Giovanni Gallegos, now with a 2.57 ERA in 7 appearances. I know we're very, very hard on Gio in St. Louis. We all pick on him. I don't know what it is about him that makes us want to pick on him all the time, but you turn around and you're like, wait a second, your ERA is at 2.57? Yeah. 7 appearances, 9 strikeouts. Hasn't been so bad. So that's 11 pitchers, which leaves you room for 2 more. And I think, and this is where the competition part came into play, I'm going to give it to those last 2 spots to Riley O'Brien and Ryan Fernandez. Now, O'Brien has been very good. 1 run, 7 appearances, 5 strikeouts. I'm surprised he doesn't get more strikeouts, but we used to say the same thing about Jordan Hicks. Remember, we're like, how does he throw 103 and the slider goes from at the batter's hip all the way into the other batter's box and he doesn't strike out more people? I can't explain it. Riley O'Brien's got nasty stuff, but he's been very good so far this spring. And Fernandez was cruising this spring until his last outing where he gave up a couple taters, 3 runs total. His ERA before that was at 1.50, and then it just ballooned up to over 5 because of that 1 bad outing. the Cardinals are not going to want to risk losing him back to the Red Sox because he's that Rule 5 pick. So I think he makes it. But there is a case for Andre Palante to make this roster. He's been good this spring. His first year with the team 2 years ago, really good, right? Then last year, struggled, not so good. This spring, 2 earned runs in 8 innings, 9 strikeouts, the ERA at 2.25. And as you've heard a million times, the one thing about Andre Palante is the splits where he gets left-handers out. He can do that, even though he's a right-handed pitcher. So that's a big deal. That would give you 13 pitchers. You got the starting 5, you got the 2 long guys, the closer, a couple of setup guys, and then 3 middle relievers. So that's my 26, at least in my eyes. Now, if Gray starts on the IL, which is a possibility, if they don't want to push it and they just want to all right, let's just give him another 2 weeks, get him back up to speed, keep him down at Jupiter for a couple more weeks, and then have him come back, possibility still, then I think you got Palante and Fernandez jumping on the plane to LA. I think they both make it. But it's going to be tough. We'll see what they decide between Fernandez and Palante. I think the rest of it, it's kind of where we're at. But what are your thoughts on this roster? Do you like what I'm saying? Do you dislike it? Do you think there should be some changes? Someone else should make it. I know we got the Victor Scott fans pleading for him to be on this roster, but I hope what I've been saying about the situation and why it may not happen, I hope it all makes sense to you. Big news in the league tonight, though. Blake Snell has finally found a home. No, it wasn't St. Louis, but we're going to talk about it next on Locked On Cardinals. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and a whole lot more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. They've got over 122 million parts. 122 million. That's a lot of parts. I don't know how many parts go in a car. I'm not a grease monkey. I'm not somebody who lives in the garage. I don't know. That's why I leave it up to people like eBay Motors to help me out, make things simple for me. 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, it's not about burning cash. It's about burning rubber. Get out there on the road and enjoy it. Weather's getting nice. You got a convertible or something. Get out there. Have some fun. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day, like one we're going to talk about here in just a moment, with the local experts of Locked On plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Two-time Cy Young Award winner Blake Snell has finally found a home, and he's going to stay out on the West Coast, as I predicted. I just had a feeling about it, landing a 2-year, $62 million deal with the San Francisco Giants. Now, this deal also reportedly includes an opt-out after this year. So if he pitches well, feels like he can get something long-term after the season is done, he has a chance to do that. If he doesn't, sticks around, makes $31 million again. Win-win for Blake Snell, the Giants, hoping he continues to be one of the top left-handed pitchers in all of baseball. It kind of upsets you as a Cardinal fan, though, right? Because 2 years, $62 million is like something that is right up the Cardinals' alley. You know, it's not long-term. It's short money. It's a lot of money at 31 a pop, but it's still short money. You're in and out in 2 years, and there's nothing else you have to worry about, right? That's the kind of contracts the Cardinals like to sign when it comes to starting pitchers. But again, nobody thought this was what was going to happen when free agency started. The Cardinals didn't think they'd be in the running for any of these guys. And maybe they did talk to Blake Snell. You don't know that. We don't know. They might have reached out to him and he was like, don't really feel like living in the Midwest. It's a possibility. But most thought Snell and Jordan Montgomery, who is still unsigned, would get bigger long-term deals. So before we go blasting Mo for not getting Snell to come to St. Louis on 2 years and $62 million. Remember, like I mentioned over and over and over during this process, it felt like Blake Snell wanted to be out west. He's from out in the West Coast. He's from Washington. So you heard the Angels rumblings for a while. He pitched really well and enjoyed San Diego. So the Giants being out there on the West Coast of California makes a lot of sense. And then from a competitive standpoint, who would you rather play for? Would you rather play for the Angels or the Giants, who have done a whole lot of stuff recently? And then you got the Angels, who haven't done much of anything except lose maybe the greatest baseball player in the world in Shohei Ohtani. After failures last offseason with the attempted signings, remember Arson Judge? You remember that situation? Remember they tried to sign Aaron Judge. They tried to sign Carlos Correa. Didn't work out, either one of them. The Giants have been pretty bold this time around, though. They've signed Snell now, who, because of this, because he shot down the qualifying offer by San Diego, that means San Francisco will lose their third-round draft pick in 2024, as well as $500,000 from their international bonus pool for the upcoming signing period. And they've already forfeited their second-round pick because they signed third baseman Matt Chapman, who had come from Toronto. So they didn't seem to care about that. They were like, nope, bring him in. They've also inked KBO star Jung-Hoo Lee, 6 years, $113 million. Jorge Soler got a 3-year, $42 million contract. They signed former Cardinals pitcher Jordan Hicks to a 4-year, $44 million deal and are sticking him in the rotation to start things off in his Giants career. And they made a trade for former Cy Young Award winner Robbie Ray. He's returning from Tommy John surgery, but they plucked him out of Seattle. He's supposed to come back at some point this summer. There's targeting like a mid-summer return for Robbie Ray, but we'll see. And that's a lot of stuff. And these are the kind of moves that I think Cardinal fans wish their front office would make. You know, this is the kind of creative stuff that we wish Mo and company were making, but that's just not the case. They just don't do these things. Snell joins Logan Webb as the 1-2 punch in their rotation, along with top pitching prospect Kyle Harrison. Jordan Hicks is there. Alex Cobb is there. Robbie Ray, when he comes back, he'll be there. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. So when you put their starting rotation up against what the Cardinals have, gotta wish the Cardinals had done more, right? The Cardinals will play 2 on Tuesday. Split squad with one group at home against the Marlins and another on the road against the Mets. The Marlins game will be at 12:05 St. Louis time. Cal Gibson scheduled to get the start. We're hoping he looks better than he has the first 2 times out. Lance Lynn will get the nod against the Mets. That'll be a 5:10 St. Louis start. The first game is going to be audio only. Second game set to be televised on MLB.TV. So there you have it. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter, X, at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like and subscribe on YouTube to help our channel and our love for the Cardinals grow. I apologize for this coming out so late, but I had a long day of other work stuff going on. So I appreciate your patience and appreciate you. You're the best fans in baseball for a reason, and I'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.